Hey guys, Great Big Board. This is going to be in the box number 3. I'm starting to notice a theme here in my experience on YouTube. I occasionally get caught up with trading insults with people, honing my sarcastic wit in some kind of weird replay of my childhood, in which I spent a lot of time feeling humiliated. I tell myself that it's okay for me to give these people a hard time because, first, they need a good slap in the face, and second, I don't let the verbal sparring take over the whole conversation. I do stick to the point, in addition to trying to piss people off. Then, for reasons that I don't entirely understand, I find myself taking a step back and asking what really matters, what's really important here. There's not really any benefit to the world for me to become an expert at insulting people in order to work out my childhood shit. So anyway, last night I took a step back, again, for no reason that I understand. And I changed my tone in a conversation from adversarial to persuasive, actually trying to reach this person. And it occurs to me that perhaps I'm not the only one who gets stuck in, these insult trading contests. And so I just wanted to put the word out there, a suggestion. Let's all occasionally take a step back and think about what's really important. It seems to me that we can reach some of these people. Definitely not those who are making money at it, Dembski, Craig, those guys, and Ray Comfort. But I think there must be a lot of people that are stuck in superstition for whatever reason that we could reach if we could figure out how. Maybe they're trapped by fear like I was. So here's my idea concerning that. If any of you guys has ever reached a person who's trapped in religion, superstition, or if you've even gotten close, send me a PM. Tell me some details about the experience. And after I get a few, if I get enough of them from you guys, I'll look for themes and I'll tell you guys what I find. Maybe we can come up with something. And do me a favor and don't blow me away with stories of failed attempts unless they're funny, or interesting in some way. Other issues. I had this idea. I've heard of the occasional person with liberal values who joins a conservative organization in order to kind of be a moderating influence in that organization. And religion is utterly divisive and just getting worse all the time. Megachurches are turning into entire communities where people are totally insulated against any kind of outside influence. And that can't be a good thing. I mean, you've got this entire population of people who distrust education and science, and they just descend further and further all the time into their superstitions. So I'm starting to wonder, maybe we should all start going to church and trying to, influence these people to think differently and to have some different priorities, some different ideas. I'm not sure I'm ready to start singing hymns just yet, but I'm interested to know what you guys think of this idea, just something to kick around. Do you think it would serve any useful purpose in the world for a bunch of us to start going to church and trying to have an influence on these people? Okay, a few of you have suggested that I make a video about my deconversion experience. I'm not sure there's enough material there for an entire video without going into a bunch of the boring details, so I'll give what's hopefully a brief sketch. When I was little, I heard people talk about heaven and hell, but I never really got any specifics about it except that hell is bad, heaven is good, basically. I had this idea that hell is kind of like an orphanage. It's depressing there, the kids don't get to have any fun, the grown-ups are mad all the time. Pretty much like the life I had at the time, except that you have to wear a devil costume. I sort of unconsciously assumed that I would go to hell because heaven is a special place for good kids, and given that my parents were always pissed off at me for reasons I never understood, I must not be good enough to go to heaven. It didn't bother me too much. It just seemed like a continuation of the life that I was already living. Now, when I was 13, I had this really unfortunate conversation with my mother's boyfriend. He described hell to me as fire, brimstone, eternal torture, you never get to die, it lasts forever, that kind of thing. I believed it all, and it scared the shit out of me. So I started frantically studying the Bible, but that really just made it worse. I started with the book of Matthew, and naturally, it's like, oh, if you lust after a woman, well, that's a sin. and I have to cut off my hands and gouge out my eyes. Now, a lot of people, I don't know, you guys think I'm an idiot or think I was an idiot, that's fine. I really believed that I had to cut off my hands and gouge out my eyes. And I spent a couple of years just feeling awful trying to imagine making myself do it because I didn't want to go to hell. I never could, obviously, make myself do it. But I did, after a couple of years, I started thinking, well, I'll just get a really good education so I can get a really good job so I can make lots of money and then hire a surgeon to remove my hands and eyes. I literally thought that I would have to do these things. So I spent the next 10 years or so, just kind of wondering how people can get through their lives. I mean, why does anybody bother to do anything? Why bother to even get up out of bed if hell is hanging right there over your head? I was really confused, and I couldn't get along with anybody, really. I was angry all the time, always pretty unpleasant to be around, and because I always felt like I'm awful, I'm a terrible person, and always worried that I'm going to go to hell. Now, in my mid 20s, I finally gave up. I figured I'm just too sinful. Jesus won't let me in. I had tried accepting Jesus into my heart several times, but obviously it didn't work because I still thought about naked women all the time. So I'm like, okay, this salvation thing just doesn't work on me for some reason, so I'm going to hell. Doesn't matter. I gave up. I tried to put it all out of my mind. And over the next 10 years or so, I found that I really loved learning about the world. And I started to find science and find that, science makes the Bible bullshit. So I started to tell myself that there's no God, and I hung on to that as tight as I could, but I would still, have these nightmare scenarios where I would worry, about what's in store for me after I die. I got married and had a kid and a career, and, that kind of took my mind off of it for a while. So in 2006, a few years after my divorce, I met a woman and fell madly in love with her. After a couple of years, she left. And this just was devastating. I kept my shit together for about a year, and then I totally stopped keeping my shit together. I dropped completely out of life, started spending most of my time in bed. After a few months of this, I started thinking about ways to kill myself. And then I realized that I couldn't, because I was going to go to hell. I didn't want to go right away. I knew in my mind that the whole religion thing has to be bullshit, but, that childhood fear was pretty powerful. I started working with my therapist, who I had been seeing for a really long time, on ways to kind of, get over that stuff. And there are a lot of details in there that are just too personal. It did start to work after a while. I stopped fearing hell. And then once I got to a point where I was unafraid enough, I thought, okay, now I can kill myself. I took a whole bottle of pills and woke up in the hospital. It didn't work. And I was kind of pissed off at first. And then I had to go spend 3 days in a psychiatric health facility, which was really depressing. But during those 3 days, I started to kind of get this easy feeling of like, well, things really suck, but I'm not trapped. I can leave anytime I want to. And somehow, just knowing that I have like an easy exit made me feel better. And things kind of started to improve. And, now I feel like I can breathe now. Here I am, mostly unafraid. I still get afraid sometimes, but I'm way less afraid than I used to be. I definitely don't feel trapped anymore. I feel like I can leave if I need to, but, I'm starting to care. So, as long as I'm here eating food and breathing oxygen, I want to try to make the world a better place if I can. I had hoped to address some of the questions that you guys asked after my last episode of In the Box, but I think I have time only for one answer. So my apologies to everyone, especially those of you who asked time-sensitive questions. Somebody asked about giving a Bible to their son on his 16th birthday. I hope that didn't happen. Radical Bacon, you wanted to know some of the details of my first masturbatory experience. Now, seriously, you know better than to ask a question like that. I'm really disappointed. Masturbation is a sin, and I've never done it. That's In the Box number 3. Thanks for watching.